The bobcat's last hope, a girl's unbreakable bond. Lily had always been drawn to the woods. Ever since her family moved to the small Montana town, she spent her mornings exploring the dense forests behind their house. She loved the way the wind whispered through the trees, and how the golden sun filtered through the canopy, creating a dance of light on the forest floor. But nothing could have prepared her for the discovery she made one fateful autumn morning. The weak cry was barely audible at first. At first, she thought it was just the wind, but then she heard it again, a desperate, pitiful sound, barely strong enough to reach her ears. Lily followed the noise, her heart pounding. Pushing past a tangle of bushes, she found a tiny bundle of fur lying on the damp earth. It was a bobcat kitten, no bigger than a newborn puppy. His fur was matted, his ribs were visible beneath his skin, and his breathing was labored. Lily dropped to her knees, eyes widening. She glanced around, searching for the mother, but the woods were silent. If the mother was still alive, she would have come for her baby by now, and if the kitten stayed here alone, he wouldn't last another night. Lily hesitated. She knew the rules. Never take a wild animal from its home. But how could she just leave him there? The kitten let out another weak cry, and that was all it took. Gently, she scooped him up in her arms and tucked him inside her jacket. She ran back home, her heart hammering. Her parents would never allow this. They had always warned her about the dangers of wild animals, but she had to try. A fight for survival. As expected, her parents were less than thrilled when she arrived home cradling a bobcat. "Lily, you can't just take in a wild animal," her mother scolded. "It's illegal." "He'll die if I don't help him," Lily protested. "Just let me try. Just for a little while." Her father sighed. "We'll call the wildlife rescue in the morning, but until then, he stays in the garage." Lily nodded, knowing that was the best she would get. She spent the next hours trying everything she could to help the tiny bobcat, whom she had decided to name Ash. She wrapped him in a warm towel, gave him small drops of milk from an eyedropper, and stayed by his side all night. Each time he whimpered, she whispered softly, reassuring him that he wasn't alone. Morning came and Ash was still alive, but just barely. Her father made the call to the wildlife center, but the response was not what Lily had hoped for. "There's nothing we can do," the voice on the phone said. "If the mother abandoned him, he's unlikely to survive. You're welcome to bring him in, but be prepared for the worst." Lily refused to accept that answer. "What if we take care of him ourselves?" she asked her father. He frowned. "Lily, this isn't a pet. This is a wild animal. He belongs in the forest." "I know," Lily said, fighting back tears, "but I just need to give him a chance." Her father hesitated. He had always admired his daughter's determination, but this was different. Finally, he sighed. "All right. But if he gets too sick or too wild, we do what's best for him." That was all the permission Lily needed. A growing bond. Days turned into weeks, and against all odds, Ash grew stronger. Lily fed him carefully, first with formula and then small pieces of raw meat. She made a soft bed for him in a corner of the garage, and as he gained strength, he began to explore the space with curiosity. Soon he was chasing after strings, pouncing on Lily's shoelaces, and even curling up in her lap when he was tired. But as Ash grew, so did the questions. Lily's parents reminded her often that he was a wild animal, and eventually he would have to return to the forest. The thought made Lily's stomach twist. She had raised Ash, protected him, loved him. How could she ever let him go? Then came the day everything changed. The call of the wild. One afternoon, Ash bolted through the open garage door before Lily could stop him. Panic surged through her as she chased after him, calling his name. Ash, Ash, come back. The bobcat hesitated at the tree line, his ears twitching at the sounds of the wild. For the first time, he seemed torn between two worlds, the home he had known and the one he was meant to be part of. Lily's heart clenched. She could see it in his eyes, the pull of the forest, the instincts buried deep inside him. She had fought so hard to keep him safe, but she couldn't fight his nature. Tears burned in her eyes. "It's okay," she whispered. "If you want to go, you can go." Ash looked back at her, his golden eyes full of something she couldn't quite place. Then, with a final glance, he turned and disappeared into the trees. Lily stood there for a long time, the silence of the forest pressing in on her. She had done everything she could, and now she had to trust that Ash would find his way. A parting gift. Weeks passed, and the ache in Lily's heart never quite faded. She searched for Ash every time she walked through the woods, but he never appeared. She feared the worst, that he hadn't survived, that she had let him go, only to lose him forever. Then, one evening, as the sun set behind the trees, she heard a sound, a familiar rustling. She turned, her breath catching in her throat. There, at the edge of the woods, stood Ash. He was larger now, stronger. His fur was thick and glossy, his muscles lean and powerful. But his eyes were the same. He stared at Lily for a long moment, and then, in a movement so small she almost missed it, he dipped his head, just once, as if to say thank you. Then he was gone. Lily wiped a tear from her cheek and smiled. She had saved him. And now he was exactly where he was meant to be. The end.